respect is non-negotiable. Every girl or woman that they know is an individual who has their own thoughts, feelings, and rights which are equal to yours. Be a gentleman, not because she is a girl, because you are a man. The moment you are empathetic and you put yourself in the shoes of that person whom you are talking to, whether it is a man or a woman, you will never make that mistake because you will first see that जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, अगर वो मुझे कोई बोलता, तो how would I have felt? Women have certain modesty, and that modesty cannot be denied to them, and that cannot be sort of burgled. And that is one thing that one has to always understand and keep at the back of the mind. So the measure of a man is how he treats someone who can do nothing for him. Be kind, be fair, be the boy who makes every girl feel safe and secure.
Hello everyone. Namaste, good evening, good morning, good afternoon from whichever part of the world you're joining. I'm Flight Lieutenant Sonali and this is my podcast Men's Talk Town. जैसे कि आप सब जानते हैं इस पॉडकास्ट पर मैं अलग-अलग फील्ड से इनवाइट करती हूँ स्पेशली मेन to know their perspective about women so as to create a safer space for women and also to understand what is men mentality, how do they feel, do they face any issues in real life where they want to share on this platform. So आज हमारे साथ हैं again one of the prominent eminent personalities. Welcome sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sonali.
And sir is Major General Sanjeev Chaudhary. He's from Delhi and I'm quickly going to introduce him. So when I always say quickly, it is a very elaborate biodata or a profile they have. However, I am going to say it in short, and then I will, we will hear it from Sir himself. So Major General Sanjeev Chaudhary ji, he served with distinction in the Indian Army from June 1984 to August 2021, culminating a remarkable career spanning over 37 years in the Regiment of Artillery. Known for his leadership, commitment, and passion for learning, he held several key command and staff appointments across operational and strategic domains. He also was appointed as an Addition Director General ADG movements, looking after the movement of troops and logistics by rail, sea, and air. Post his retirement, he has settled in Noida and redirected his focus towards meaningful contributions in civil society. Currently, he is in the final stages of obtaining certification in soft skills training, and he looks forward to expanding his impact through capacity building and personal development initiatives. He is also, I believe, you are with one of the director editorial of Think Tank United Service Institution of India in New Delhi, a leading organization in the capital, which was established in 1870. His two children, an elder daughter, Pratiksha, who is accomplished endodontist in Mumbai, and younger son Pranav, who was captain in the Indian Army and posted at Harshil in Uttarakhand. Apologies, sir, if I have misspelled anywhere or if I have missed out something. But really honored to have you on my show today, and we would like to hear it from you how your journey has been, and please tell us something about.
Firstly, thank you very much for your introduction and for having me on this men's talk town. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be part of your conversation. It's a privilege to join you and contribute to a space that brings such honest and thoughtful dialogue to the podcast. Thanks for making me part of a subject very close to my heart. So, my journey began in Philavati Saran Hospital in New Delhi, 30th of August 1960. I was born to an army family. My dad was an Indian Army officer, and as the only child, I sort of grew up in that world of structure and duty, always on the move, discipline, and everything else. From Dehradun to Delhi, I changed schools many times that I can count. A big turning point in my life came when I earned a merit scholarship and got admission to the coveted modern school Barakamba Road, New Delhi, where I joined in class 3. And that place really shaped. It wasn't just about books. I represented my school in gymnastics, kho and in volleyball. Yes, I did decently well in academics. As a kid, I had this dream to become a pilot in the Indian Air Force. And for that, I had aero modeling as a hobby, and I was able to draw any aircraft which participated in World War I and II. I was super passionate, and also joined the NCC Air Wing with full josh. But life had other plans. During a routine medical examination, they discovered I had a color vision deficit. Small thing, but it closed the doors of aviation for me. Anyway, the bigger dream of wearing the uniform stayed on. 1979, I sat for the NDA entrance exam, cracked it, cracked the SSB and the medicals, and joined the National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla in 1980. Fast forward to June 1984, I was commissioned into the Indian Army in the Regiment of Artillery from the Indian Military Academy. And what followed was an incredible 37-year journey that eventually saw me retire at the male journey, of which some issues Sonali has already covered. Along the way, I married my amazing wife Neelu in 1989, and we were blessed with two wonderful kids, of which Sonali spoke about. We are now settled in Noida. My parents are no longer with us, but I carry their value forward every day. And a fun fact, the biggest advantage that I got to join NDA was that I never appeared for my class 12 board exam. And is that not a privilege? Post retirement, life has taken a new turn. Second innings, if you will. Today, I work as a career counselor, a mentor, competency assessor, and serve as a director editorial or the chief editor with a strategic think tank. Life is deeply fulfilling. This chance to help young people find their path and to contribute to larger conversations around leadership, national security, and policy. If I had to sum up my military life, I'd say it gave me more than a career. It gave me resilience, gave me perspective, and the ability to lead under pressure. Sure, constant transition, new cities, new teams weren't easy, but that made me adaptable and strong. And today, the biggest reward is being able to give back, whether it is mentoring a student, guiding a career change, or writing something that sparks thought in the national security discourse. That is what fills my days now. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I have lived a life deeply rooted in purpose and guided by the heart. While challenges and conflicts are a natural part of any journey, I have found that they seldom linger when one leads with clarity and conviction. My foundation was shaped early at the modern school and then at the National Defense Academy. Crucible that instilled in me the ability to adjust and adapt in the harshest of conditions. It taught me that discipline and endurance, which are just not military virtues, but life skills that serve every walk of life. My journey for nearly 3.5 decades in the Indian Army further honed my understanding of leadership, loyalty, and lifelong camaraderie. The bonds forged in service were not just professional, they were profoundly human and continue till today. I learned that resilience is built in the absence of adversity, but in the ability to reach each time with grace and resolve. Equally instrumental in shaping who I am have been the women in my life, my mother, my mother-in-law, and my wife, and each in their quiet and unwavering way taught me what is it to live a fulfilling life. Looking back on life shaped by service and values, I now step forward with a quiet resolve to serve through counsel, not just command, with relevance, not just rank, because true purpose lives on in the lives we continue to.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing that journey. And I think you already mentioned about, you're the females in your life who have helped you or who have supported you in shaping your supported, yes, I would say that in shaping your career. So, how their contribution actually would you say that encouraged you? What was it that triggered, or what was it that you felt that support was prominent or important, and without that, you wouldn't have been what you are?
Thank you, Sonali, for that question. Behind every meaningful journey are very quiet pillars, steady, selfless, and strong. In my life, these pillars have been my mother, my mother-in-law, and my wife. My mother was my first teacher, not through lectures. She was not a very highly educated person, but through the life she lived. She taught me resilience without raising her voice, patience without expecting praise, and the kind of strength that never announces itself. In the face of uncertainty, she carried herself with calm dignity, and that presence still shaped how I lead, how I serve, and how importantly I live. Then comes my mother in law. She didn't just welcome me to her family, she made me feel belong. Through her, I discovered a quieter kind of love, not showy, not dramatic, yet steadfast. The kind That is felt in a home cooked meal, which she was brilliant at, in knowing when to listen and in remembering the little things about each person without ever being reminded. She taught me that love and strength don't always need a stage. Sometimes they show up in silence, holding families together, in observing more than speaking, and in responding to life with grace rather than noise. Her legacy isn't measured in accolades, but in the lives she touched, the values she passed on, and the quiet dignity with which she carried herself. Through her, I have become more grounded, more empathetic, a better partner, a better parent, and a better person. That was my darling wife, Nilu. She has been the unwavering anchor of my life. Since our marriage in 1989, she has navigated the unpredictable life of a Fauji's wife, wedded to olive greens, with grace, strength, and extraordinary spirit. While I was away on field tenures and operations, she held our world together, raising our children with both value and vision. She created a home that was warm, stable, and full of love, regardless of where I was posted. In her, I found not just a partner, but a leader in her own right. She didn't ask for the spotlight, yet a quiet support shaped every chapter of my journey. I can say with certainty who I am today is because she chose to walk beside me. Along the way, I have also had the privilege of working with outstanding women, officers, administrators, and professionals whose intellect, ambition, and leadership have left a lasting impact. Each one has expanded my understanding. Quiet power women bring every space we occupy. So, what is my gratitude for them? It isn't about grand gestures. For me, it is about everyday respect. It is about celebrating their presence, not in moments of recognition, but in decisions made, milestones shared, conversation where their voices are heard. And gratitude to me isn't an act, it's a way of living. Gratitude, I have come to realize, isn't always about gestures. Sometimes it is in the handwritten note, sometimes it is in showing up, in listening, and in celebrating the wins as if they were your own.
So, as we see that in defense, usually when women join and as women officers or they are treated as soldiers. But when we see outside, even today, many men have this hierarchical issue, in when they come from villages or when they have this background of male dominance, male dominating, or rather, we can say. From their generations it has happened that the female should not work or something, and they don't support. So for such men, what would you like to say?
Okay, men are all kinds. You've been a lady officer yourself.
No, yes. So as I mentioned that in defense we generally have this, that open mindedness, or we have a certain mentality, but in civil at times that doesn't happen. People are often they have a restricted mindset towards the females. So after marriage they're not allowed to work, or at times this happen because they have not seen that in their family. So what would you like to
See,
say to us?
my tip for them is that please do not identify women by sex, but they should be identified by substance. Not by the role society assigns to them, but the value that they create for everyone and the family. Not by the volume of their voice, but by the depth of their convictions. Not by the labels of daughter, wife, or mother, but by the legacies they shape, the leadership they embody, and the light they show to every space that they enter. The true identity is not biological, not about chromosomes, it's about character. It's about resilience in silence, grace under fire, and the courage to rise even when the world isn't watching. That is where the ladies of today are better than any of us, better than the men at least. So let us not box women by gender, but celebrate them by their grit, by their vision, and by the undeniable impact that they leave in every space that they reach.
I think you said it very wonderfully that let's not identify them just by their gender, but rather substance. And I remember participating in Mrs. India Queen of Substance. So it is like, that substance word, it adds a lot of depth and volume and weightage to that, I believe. So yes, as you very rightly said that It should be by their work or talent that they should be, identified. So, how do you think that a dialogue between a male and a female can evolve so that we have lesser misunderstandings? Because a lot of time it happens that हमें ऐसा लगा या we assume. So they say that men talk a lot, or men rather speak less and women talk a lot. So what would you say about that?
See, misunderstandings can happen between any two people.
Yeah, that is always there.
But between men and women will happen only once we have that EGO in between us. Or both of us have to forget. That's what I said. Na, that moment there is gender, then I feel that I am talking to someone who is not like me. But that is not the thing. She is not even like me, maybe better than me.
But what can we do to reduce this ego thing?
See, we have to be explicit. We have to avoid ambiguity between the two. And we have to give every person their correct place based on merit. But that does not mean that if there is a junior employee who's a woman under me and she does something wrong, I will not take her off. Because my duty is not only to be with her, but to also make her grow and make her growth professionally better. So, in the garb of giving her a professional counseling, there are no misunderstandings. So that is why, firstly, the biggest thing that anyone can do is to be an active listener. You should never interrupt, never jump to conclusions. Allow, give that lady a voice. Again, avoid assumptions, avoid generalization.
Very well.
Biggest thing is be full of empathy. The moment you are empathetic and you put yourself in the shoes of that person whom you are talking to, whether it is a man or a woman, you will never make that mistake because you will first see that जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ अगर वो मुझे कोई बोलता तो how would I have felt? So that is why empathy will solve everything. And again, there are no generalizations, there are no biases. Like they say that okay, a woman merits respect, but when it comes to work and she is not delivering, then she has to be taken off. But then the way of taking off is humane.
Right. It should not be rude, or it should not be
I mean,
humiliating.
not be rude by any person. That's what I'm saying. No? That don't think that you are talking to someone who is not like you physically.
So in your, as you said, like, you had a career of 37 years in army plus now the civil. So have you ever faced any such, any incidents in your life, or your experience? I mean, where both ways, I would say, where you felt that, or it could be your not maybe not be your personal experience, but you have heard, you have seen, since you have worked for so many years, that a woman faced, inequality or some kind of difficulty in her adjustment with men in professional work.
There are 15 cases in the army and in the services where women, not only women officers, but even women. Now we have an offense in the army which is called stealing brother officer wife's affection. I have done 2 or 3 inquiries in such certain incidents. And why did they happen? Background was very clear that they happened because that man was not happy in his own family. So he decided to venture outside. When he found a similar person of the opposite sex who was not happy in her family, they clicked. But by clicking, it led to an offense in the military parlance. And when it got detected, the officer got punished. Of course, nothing could be done to the lady. Similarly, there have been occasions where bosses try to get very close to their
Female colleague.
female officers to the extent of patting them on the back, trying to hug them. It's never done. When I was the GOC of a Severia, had a lady as a staff officer. Other than calling her by name, that was the closest thing that I ever did. I never even touched her to show any kind of appreciation. Appreciation was given verbally. So what we need to understand is that women have certain modesty, and that modesty cannot be denied to them, and that cannot be sort of burgled. And that is one thing that one has to always understand and keep at the back of the mind. Rest everything with olive paste. And men have to be very conscious but not submissive to their women employees. Just because you have women under you, you should not be scared.
Right.
कि पता नहीं कभी क्या हो जाएगा. So you start giving them privileges, उनको सिर पे चढ़ा लो, नहीं. All that I will not recommend. But what I will recommend is that they have to be given their space, their modesty has to be protected, and by no way they should get a feeling that one is getting unduly close to them for a favor.
I think you brought out a very wonderful point here, sir. That there is a very fine balance between working with women employees, as you cannot be you should not rather be get too close to them, nor you should give too much of liberty. Arey, women employee, to they have all the privileges in the world. That should also not happen. So there is a very fine line which needs to be worked on or defined, which I think will have a equal platform for all. And again, it depends case to case and work to work, and I think background to background, it differs.
And it comes with maturity.
Yes, definitely. That also I agree. And also, I think so work areas, because defense will have a different agenda. Civil organizations have different agenda. Different departments have different work culture and different work backgrounds. So keeping all that in mind, I think it's very necessary to keep that balance, which is very well said. So coming to our closing question, I would like to ask you one thing: that what advice would you give to our teenage boys in terms of thought process and their behavior or growing up years towards having a respectful behavior towards female, the young generation, I would say.
Teenage boys, I would first and foremost tell them that respect is non-negotiable. Every girl or woman that they know is an individual who has their own thought, feelings, and rights which are equal to yours.
Right.
Respect their space, respect their choices and their boundaries. And a no means a no. And silence is not consent. Second, be a gentleman, not because she is a girl, because you are a man. Not, you don't have to be a gentleman because she is a lady. No, it is because you are a man. Politeness, empathy, and good manners. Offer help, but don't force it down. Courtesy should never become control. Third point, avoid objectifying language and behavior. Don't reduce a girl to her looks, clothes, or body. Don't tease her, don't call her names, don't gossip about her. Offline or online. Treat her with dignity. Girls like boys can have a wide ranging of emotions, maybe more. Learn to listen without judging or mock. Support her as you would a friend, not because you want something in return. Because it's correct. Girls can be smarter, stronger, or more talented. Yes, please celebrate it and acknowledge it and celebrate it. Collaborate in class projects, sports as equals, not as competitors in a gender war. If you see other boys being disrespectful, stand up and speak. Silence can signal approval. Build a reputation for kindness and fairness, not popularity or bravado. Avoid jokes that could demean girls. Educate yourself on how bias and sexism can shape thinking and work to be different. You may slip up of any of these, so learn to apologize genuinely. So the measure of a man is how he treats someone who can do nothing for him. Be kind, be fair, be the boy who makes every girl feel safe and respected. This is what I feel.
And also, I think what you mentioned about standing up when things are not good, and even if you are not involved, and if you see some injustice happening, which I think is lacking amongst most of us, or all of us rather. Nowadays we see incidences where people just keep recording or keep watching, they do nothing about it, which is very very sad, I believe. Right. And that was really a wonderful conversation, sir. Thank you for coming on this show, and it was great having you here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your time, and I think we had a lot of I would say delay and cancellations, and finally we were able to get on the show.
All is
And
well that
thank
ends
you.
well. So thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Sonali, for inviting me to be part of your podcast.
Thank you so much,
Truly a
sir. And
pleasure to engage with you in such a thoughtful and inspiring conversation. Wishing you the very best in all your future endeavors and hope to join you again sometime whenever it is possible.
absolutely. I would also tell our viewers that I would be sharing the links, his social media links of Major General Sanjeev Chaudhary ji, in our description. Please get in touch with him if you have any queries, doubts, or if you want to connect with him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
And
so much.
Nihal.
Jai Hind.